And we're off. Welcome. Fantastic. And that's just some of the example of the brilliance and sheer technical genius which is behind Men's Radio Station. You wouldn't think he works for the BBC, would you? It's absolutely carnage. Anyway, welcome. And I suppose I've got to say good afternoon, but to me it's like morning. I'm Russ Kane, and you are tuned to Men's Radio Station. It's something that we are so excited about. Men's Radio Station, where men really talk. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a sort of background. That's my glasses, by the way. I wanted to give you a bit of a background of why we're doing it and the thinking behind it. Now, the first thing that I want to dispel is that, and people have been saying, especially on social media, why isn't there a women's version? Why have you just got Men's Radio Station? Well, my co-founder, the wonderful Howard Jameson, who's been a very good friend of mine for many, many years, he started Women's Radio Station ages and ages ago, and it's been up and running and doing very, very well. I must say, some fantastic guests on it and looking at great issues. And so one day we were sitting around having one of our endless coffees in town, as we always do. That constitutes a meeting for us. You want coffee? Yeah, I'll have some coffee. Do you want more coffee? I'll have another. That's basically it. And we said, why don't we have a men's version of Women's Radio Station? And over the next macchiato, basically that was it. And we set it up. Let me just introduce you to the team, if I may. You can't see it, so you've got to imagine this magnificent studio in the very heart of London. It's gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous, although the koi carp pool is a little disappointing. To my right is Howard Jameson, who we'll be hearing from later, who's sitting there just wishing he was somewhere else. And then all the proper knob twiddlers, as I call them, the faders, the people who are in charge of everything technical, is Phil Dave and Mr. James. We just call him Mr. James because he is that important, and they will be running all the technical side of it. So that at the moment is the team. Why did we want to do this? Well, we think that life in 2019, and certainly from what we gathered in 2018, is just increasingly confusing to be a man. And I'm not just talking about the Me Too movement. I mean, to put it into perspective, I am so freaked out by that when I travel on the tube and the bus, I literally stare at the floor. God forbid I make eye contact with anybody. So that is true. That is how I run things. So it is confusing, but there's so many things that men simply struggle with. And the whole point of this radio station, it's not about, football and beer and whether Spurs are going to do well this season or not, although I think we know the answer to that one. It's really the issues that men don't want to talk about and don't have a forum to talk about. See, women, in our experience and my personal experience and that of the team, they're much better at chatting. They will get together with their girlfriends and they talk about much more intimate things than guys ever do. We're simply rubbish at it. We're not good at it. Women are far better at sharing their emotions and getting emotional help and getting emotional support, sometimes from their family, but often from their best mates sitting over coffee or, just out doing school run or whatever it might be. There's more opportunities, perhaps. But guys are notoriously bad at doing this. Absolutely shocking. And so I set up a thing called the Espresso Bar on Facebook. And I'm loving the sound effects. It's like a Vincent Price movie. Yeah, we never thought of getting WD-40 on Men's Radio Station. That was one of the things. James, make a note, please. WD-40 is making a note. That's the fella. Now, so the Espresso Bar, which is a closed Facebook group, I have to approve everybody because I don't know any nonsense going on there. And the reaction to that was tremendous. So with that in mind, and with the success of Women's Radio Station, it seemed the natural thing to do to put together a brand new radio station between Howard Jameson and myself to deal with the problems that men in 2019 face. Now, it's your radio station. I know that sounds a pathetic cliche, but it's absolutely true. It is not about me. I'm merely really just a facilitator, somebody who wants to put all this together for you, because it's for you to make the most of it. And some other genius on social media says, what happened? Can women listen? And I did reply, I said, no, we have very, very expensive equipment put into the studio that goes into your home or your car and can tell if you're a male or female. And if you're female, it automatically cuts off. I think they believed me, which is a little bit worrying, as they can vote and drive. So it's a situation, of course, everybody is absolutely welcome. Will we be having female contributors? Totally, because I wouldn't be so daft as to cut off 50% of the potential of the experts who are out there. So of course we will. I said it's your radio station. This is the telephone number that I'm going to drill in endlessly over the coming weeks. It gets you straight through to the studio. 0203 290 4411. That's 0203 290 4411. One more time, because this is the moment when you're going, what the hell did he say? Where's my pen? Where's the pen? Where's the pen? I've got it on paper now. 0203 290 4411, and you get through to the studio, and then we can chat. Now, what's coming up today? No, that wasn't a rhetorical question. I actually can tell you what's coming up today. Our first guest, who will be arriving in the not-too-distant future, is Noel McDermott. And then our second guest in the second half of the show is Kenny De Cruz. His full name is Kenny Mamarella De Cruz, but he says to forget the middle bit because I'll never be able to pronounce it. Ha! In your face, Kenny. So, what we're going to be looking at today is something that is just a huge, huge issue, and it's something I know we're going to be coming back to week after week, along with lots of other stuff. Depression. Depression is something that men don't like to talk about, but suffer from in a huge way. And of course women do. When I just say men, please don't start writing in and say, you didn't mention women. I'm being universal here, but the name of the station is Men's Radio Station, so trying to deal with male problems. And depression is pretty much at the top of the list. And it was one of the main reasons that Howard and I started this, because one day I was at BBC Radio London doing a show, and there was, Phil Davies, so happy that he wasn't involved in this particular thing because it was the middle of the night when he's simply having his hair done. And it was suicide statistics. And I was absolutely shocked because that was the subject that we happened to be discussing that day, because that was what was in the papers. And 80% of suicides in the United Kingdom are men. And you don't need to be a mathematical genius to work out 20% are women. That number is increasing. And it is a shocking disparity. I mean, you don't want any suicides, but let's assume it's going to happen, because that's life, and indeed that's death. But 80% men. And I thought to myself, wow, there is an enormous problem out there, a huge problem. If by any chance our efforts can help, can give you a route to get help, to talk to experts, then quite frankly, it's all been worthwhile. It's not my style to be doom and gloom. I can't do that. It's not actually my personality. So there will be levity as well, but it's not, as I said, it's not about me. And one thing just to make really, really clear is I'm not setting myself any more than Howard or James or Phil. We're not setting ourselves up as the experts. We are not qualified. We're not doctors. We're not psychotherapists. We're not counsellors. We're broadcasters. So we will be having a team who will be coming in on a weekly basis as we deal with whatever subject we've decided that's going to be the thing, or the subject that you would like for us to concentrate on, which is really important, which is why I say it's your radio station. And today, as I said, it will be about a depression, something that far too many people know about. So, for example, that's just me moving papers. One of the things that you will know, if you suffer from depression, there is nothing worse than somebody saying, with all good intention, they say, well, cheer up, it's okay, put a smile on your face. And I always say that is exactly like going up to someone who's just broken their leg and say, well, if you run round the room, you'll be feeling so much better. Go on, get up, get off, just move that cast and those crutches, and you'll be great. Well, it's ridiculous. Of course you won't be feeling any better whatsoever. And that's the same thing when someone's depressed. There's no good thing. Hey, put a smile on your face, because they can't do it. So what is depression? Well, we're going to be talking about this a lot in a minute, but when you're diagnosed with depression, there's certain criteria that boxes have to be ticked, so to speak. You're in a depressed mood. Now, that's not feeling a bit miss. I mean, everybody wakes up and think, oh, God, it's Monday, it's raining, I don't want to do this, or I've got a pile of washing to do, or God, I've got to do my tax return. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a constant depressed mood. Something else. And I don't know, you're thinking, is this me? I don't mean me. I mean, if you're listening, please God, you are. Then you're thinking, well, do any of these criteria relate to me? So a constantly depressed mood. Then a loss of pleasure in all or most activities. And you can see that in people. You think, isn't this great? Or isn't it a lovely day? Or did you like that film on TV? Or are you enjoying your pasta? And you're not getting any reaction. Nothing. It's a loss of pleasure in all or most activities. That is the definition. Significant weight change or a change in appetite. And it's really interesting because it can go either way. Either you can eat to compensate for the fact that you're depressed, and you overcompensate by eating all the, they call it comfort food. It's a little bit of a misnomer because that comfort is very, very short-lived. Or you just can't eat. You have no appetite whatsoever. You look at the food on the plate looks back at you, and you're getting nowhere. A change in sleep. Now, I sleep very badly. Ironically, because this is the first show in men's radio station's history, I wanted an early night, and brilliantly I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, and by 7 o'clock in the morning I was still awake. But a change in your sleep pattern, you will either, and again this flips both ways, either you just can't get out of bed, you feel too depressed to even get out from under the duvet, or you can't sleep at all. Change in activity, the way that you run your life, the way that you think about things, the way that you do things, suddenly start becoming different. And now this is a very common sign of serious depression, which is constant fatigue or loss of energy. Now look, if you've got kids of any age, they can be exhausting. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about if you do a full day's work and you come home and you're making dinner. Everyone gets tired from that. What I'm talking about is just a general, constant feeling that you're tired and you just don't have energy to get up and go. Do you have trouble concentrating? Are you easily distracted? Well, I always am, but it's a diminished concentration. When I have to concentrate, I do, like when I'm writing or whatever, when I'm working, almost like today, eh? But a diminished concentration, because your mind is in such a bad place, and because you are in such a bad place, your ability to concentrate on any task starts to get less and less, and everything seems like a struggle. For example, and I'm picking this at random, can you deal with your post? For most people, opening up an envelope and dealing with your post, it's a pretty straightforward thing. You open the envelope, you look at it, you deal with it, or you simply file it away. But one of the signs of depression is, we're going to do more sound effects in a minute, it's going to be brilliant. Stand by, creaky doors. Fantastic. There we go. But if your post is building up and there you go. Don't you love that? I love that door sound. This is great. It's like being in an episode of The Archers. All that's missing is a crunchy gravel drive. So you've got the post building up, and has it ever happened to you, I wonder, or someone who's your partner, or your husband, or your wife, or whatever? And the post just builds up because you just can't get around to doing it. It's diminished concentration when things build up. And now, two huge areas which are about depression. Feelings of guilt or feelings of worthlessness. And that is, I think, the hardest thing of all. I truly do. This feeling of constantly being guilty. Everyone's guilty of something. None of us are Snow White, right? But you have this feeling of guilt the whole time. And that feeling of guilt just drags you through the floor. And there are some things obviously we probably should be guilty about. You can't undo the past. My view is, look, it is what it is. We are where we are. I'm not being flippant about it. You can't undo the past. The past is another country, as they say. There's nothing you can do about it, really. You can apologize if you've done something really, really crappy, but that's it. But feeling guilty about everything. And that is often coupled up with a feeling of worthlessness. It's not that I am not worthy, sort of that sort of thing. It's a feeling that whatever you do has no significance whatsoever, that you just shouldn't be there, that you're just a worthless person. Well, nobody is. And of course, in all of these things, your worst enemy is yourself, which is why this is such a huge topic. And I know here on Men's Radio Station, we're going to be dealing with this time and time again. And especially if we've got 80% of suicides in the United Kingdom being men, how can we not? It behooves us to do so. And then the icing on this very unpleasant cake is feelings of suicide. I'm sure that many people in your heart of hearts have at some point think, I'm going to jack it in. I really can't take any more. This is all driving me crazy. But those are fleeting moments, and then you think, what the hell am I doing? I'm going to go out, I'm going to walk the dog, or I'm going to go out and get a coffee, or I'm going to go and see my girlfriend, or whatever you're going to do. And it passes, right? That's life. It passes. It's just, but I'm sure people have, every now and then it's come through your head, and then it goes away. And if it hasn't, you are incredibly lucky. But it's when it persists. It's when it persists that you know you got a real problem. And because, as I said, I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist, we're going to be talking about it with the experts later in the program. But because, you see, this is all horribly interlinked, because you feel you're worthless, and because you just feel guilty that your life is such a screw up in your head. It probably isn't, but you think it is. And you think you're worthless. You think, well, I can't talk to anybody about this. I can't go and discuss this with anybody because I'm such a rubbish person. And that's what leads to suicidal tendencies, which is just dreadful. And as I said, if Howard Jameson and myself and the team, especially with James, my producer, if we can do anything at all to alleviate any of that, to try and help, then it's been worthwhile. Then the whole project and the whole idea of setting up Men's Radio Station is a good one, and it's been borne out by hopefully getting results. Not miracles. We're not miracle workers, and you'll have to do the hard work. It's not up for us to do that. But if we can help, point in the right direction, get you thinking in a more positive way, if that's what it needs, then all the effort is worthwhile. And you kind of feel good about it. Right, to remind you, the telephone number here is 0203 290 4411. That number again is 0203 290 4411. And a lot of people have said, well, how do I listen? So obviously you're listening now. It's www.mensradiostation.com. That's it. It is what it says on the tin. www. Do you have to say that anymore? James, do you have to say that anymore? The www bit always makes me think he's giving me a kind of whatever. But you know, if we're going to be like really pedantic, www.mensradiostation.com. That's it. We are online, and we'll see what it goes from there. James, what would you like to add at this point? You're looking at me with a sort of expectant gaze, which is both interesting and allows me to have some water.
Well, first of all, I just want to say hi. I'm James. I'm the producer, and no, I think my gaze is more of just a smile, because really I think everything you're saying is really good and it's really true. Something I'd like to add, though.
James, you've got the job. You don't need to say that. You're employed. Don't worry about it.
I don't need to schmooze out.
You don't need. And no schmoozing is required.
Something I did want to add, though, is in 2013 there was over 6.2 thousand suicides recorded of people aged 15 and older, and it was predominantly, like you said, it's 80% male, 20% female, and I think that's quite a sad thing, really, because if someone's like 15 and up, and they do take their own life, it's quite sad. It's like, maybe that's because they didn't have somewhere to go, someone to talk to, a place to get information, and that's like hopefully what we're going to provide.
It's a very good point, James, but you're much younger than me, as indeed Stonehenge is much younger than me at the moment. And you're a young guy. Why do you feel more pressured by, I'm going to throw these out at you because we haven't discussed it, social media and stuff like that? Stuff when I was growing up didn't exist because it simply hadn't been invented. Do you think why do you think more young people are suffering and struggling?
I think social media definitely doesn't help, because I feel it. Everyone's always living their best life through social media. Yeah. So if you're feeling quite down, then you go onto social media or whatever to look for like some support, and you just see people living this fake happy life, and it kind of puts you more down, doesn't it? Because you feel like, oh, they're happy, why aren't I? You know what I mean? Why aren't I happy? Do you not think? See, I look at it and I always say to people, well, social media is not real life. Yeah, it's not.
It's a version of life. It's fun. My Facebook. If you look at my Facebook, I'm having apart from the Kardashians, I'm having like the greatest life in the world. It's not real. It's little snapshots. You don't put in all the crap that you don't want. Precisely.
It could be such a great platform for communication and for helping people. Like, that's what you do with the espresso bar, right? It's like, if you have a problem, it's like, here is this forum of people you can talk to and share ideas with and like express yourself. And it could be that, but it's kind of not, is it? It's like the opposite. It's like you said, it's these snapshots of people living these fake lives. And
It is. And you think that makes people feel worse, that they can't distill. I think the point I'm trying to make is this, James. They can't distill the fact that, they're at a party of this, that, the other, but they also have to go to Tesco's, and they also go to the loo, and they also probably may have a rubbish job, or not. Do you think people don't have the ability to filter that and translate it into reality?
I think when you're feeling down, you don't, if that makes sense. I think when you're having a bad day and you're maybe feeling a little bit depressed and you've got a little bit of anxiety or something's on your mind, you're not in the right frame of mind to make that distinguishing thought, are you? To go like, no, this person doesn't just live happy, hunky-dory 24/7, because it's like you're not feeling good, and then you look at these people feeling happy and you can't make that distinction, and that's what makes you feel worse. You think like, why can't I be like that? They look happy, I can't be happy, and that's what makes you feel, at least me, at least.
I get that. I get that. One of the other things, of course, is bullying. Well, when you get older, you're kind of better equipped to tell someone to piss off if they're bullying you. You usually can. But, it's true, you can. But when you're a kid and you're at school, if I go back to my school days, if you were getting bullied in the playground or something, you went home. Well, I didn't know it was a boarding school, but you'd go somewhere else, and it would switch off because you'd be in a safe environment. I'm guessing with social media, you can go through hell at school if you're unfortunate. You go home, you look at your phone or your laptop or whatever, and it's still going on. It's relentless. Is that something that you, being a young guy, were familiar with? Not that you're being bullied. I'm not saying that.
No, I experienced it definitely, 100%. I experienced it.
You did?
When I was like 16 to 18, I kind of went through that phase of like, long hair, skinny jeans, band T-shirts, and people used to give me
what T-shirts?
Band T-shirts, Metallica.
Band. I thought you said they'd been.
Iron Maiden.
They'd been banned. I thought, what the hell does they say on the T-shirt?
No, just like band T-shirts thing. And you go through that phase, and it's like, people used to give me stick for it all the time. And it's like you'd go home, whatever, and people would still be giving it to you. You'd go on your computer, whatever, and there'd still be that one guy who's saying like, "Oh, look at the idiot with the skinny jeans," you know what I mean? And you're like, well, thanks,
But it's interesting because I've never even had this conversation with you. Had I known, probably wouldn't have got the job, frankly. Did that affected you? Or were you able to just shrug it off and say, oh, screw you?
I think it did affect me. I think if it, I definitely was able to shrug it off and say, like, they're just people who are just, they see something that they don't like and they just, it's different and they want to make fun of it. But it definitely, definitely made me sort of look in the mirror and go like, oh, maybe I should cut my hair. You know what I mean? Maybe I should cut my hair.
This is what's so pernicious. That's what I hate.
Yeah.
Because you are entitled to live your life the way that you want to live it. And that goes for every, and that's not, you can start with something as straightforward and as obvious as, should I get my hair cut or not? Do I really care what these people think? Are they influential on me? And then you think, then it can go to sexuality or your job or your personality. It can go to everything. That's what's horrible about it.
Yeah, that's that one thought of looking in the mirror and like judging yourself and saying like, this person said this and then I'm going to do this. That's a slippery slope because you can start looking. You can look in the mirror and you can really start tearing yourself apart. And you can really get upset, and you can that can down.
This is what I'm saying. This is feelings of worthlessness, and this bullying. I'm not saying that depression is caused by bullying at all. I'm saying it can be a factor. It is not the primary factor at all. But if you're feeling like that, it only takes somebody with an aggressive attitude, and of course on social media you can be these keyboard warriors. You want to go around with a baseball bat because if they met you in real life they'd run a mile, but they can be real big shots sitting in their mum's spare bedroom. I think they're pathetic. But if you're feeling worthless, this can really affect you badly. Yeah,
and it's just another like feather in the cap of depression, you know what I mean? It just keeps adding on. And it's where it can start.
Yes.
It can start by someone saying one thing and then it can just tumble into this horrible like place of depression. And the worst part about it is, as men, we have the stigmatism of like stiff upper lip, be tough. So it's like if you have these problems and if something's happening, you feel like you shouldn't talk about it.
Were you brought up like that? Were you brought up, guys don't, big boys don't cry? What's that? 10cc song, big boys don't cry, big boys don't cry.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I was
really interesting.
I was told, stiff upper lip. If there's a bully, whatever, don't acknowledge him. If you're feeling down, feel happy, like you said, put a smile on. And it's like, don't have a stiff upper lip. Don't talk. You're a man. Be strong.
So, you have just shone an absolute spotlight onto why we've started Men's Radio Station. Absolutely. In like a nugget there of why, because as a guy, that's what you're told. That's what you're told. To be strong and don't show emotion. And this is, I loathe this phrase. I would try not to use this phrase too much, right? And James is probably going to throw a heavy object at me any minute. But I try not to say the words safe space because it makes me think of a snowflake and it drives me nuts. But I did want to create with this fantastic team, and they've all worked so damn hard on this. They really have. With this team, I wanted to create somewhere where you, as a listener, felt that you could come as anonymously as you like and discuss the things you want to do. We'll be back right after this.
You're